Welcome to the TMC project. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of your inner circle and how your environment really does control you. Let's go. How's it going, guys? Today we get to talk about the importance of how much your circle really influences you. This video is inspired by an Inc. article by John Hall. It's linked in the description. Please check it out. There's a lot to learn. So, how many times have you heard Gary Vee say, you've got to drop your loser friends? How do you know if they're losers? I mean, you love your friends. Your mind's going to give you all the answers that they're great. I think it's important that we have a solid foundation to actually measure the people who are in our most inner circle, and then we can have a mindful and self-aware decision on where we're going. He gives 5 amazing tips, and I just want to touch on a couple of them that have really affected me and I've utilized in my life, and hopefully you can apply it to yours as well. First and foremost, it's about feedback. Is it transparent? Is it open? Is it honest? If there isn't a level of, when it comes to your inner circle, you have to know and believe that their intentions are always good and well-meaning. And if that's the case, they need to give you open and honest feedback. Yes, that may sometimes not be in the best language, and it can emotionally trigger us to be defensive or not like what we're hearing. But that's not the same thing. We want to, the people who are closest to us know us best. We want their feedback, and we want it to be honest and a true assessment, so that way we can take it in, see what we learn, and start proactively changing around it. The next question you want to ask yourself is, do they make you better? I know that's a silly question, but if you just hang out with friends who are down to do nothing and chill and have no inspiration of moving forward, and more importantly, if you have friends that you can say your goals to, and a week from now they're not bringing them back up, asking you about them, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. I just know that I'm only ever thinking about my goals and my personal development, so for me it needs to be in my environment as well. We can always have great conversations. Most of mine are deep talk though. It's consciousness, life expansion, a lot of meta subjects that are incredibly fun to talk about. But it always ends in, how can we improve this life? How can we get better? How can we move forward? How can we grow? So if your friends aren't making sure you're getting better, you might want to reconsider. And on the flip side, if you're not doing that for your friends, man, they might reconsider you. And that's all right. You've got to find the right circle. But one of the best things you can do is really hold your friends accountable. They need that loving accountability to help them move forward on the days when it's boring, hard, and uninteresting. So make sure you do that. And if they're not doing it for you, bring it up. Most friends are willing to do things for each other like that. Simple habits like, hey, I want to do this. Can you just kind of hold me to the fire a little bit? Hell yeah. Now let's move on to something a little more meta. And you may have never even had this conversation, because sometimes we only ever bullshit with our friends or talk about what we just did, and it never really allows us to get to conversations that really matter. Find out what motivates your friends. By doing this, you'll have a clear understanding of where they're going, what their direction is, what their velocity is. And you'll find out how much you actually align with that. Are you in a complete opposite direction? Are you at a different speed? Is it just not what you're into overall? And the flip side is, by hearing what motivates your friends, you might uncover subconscious things that you were interested in that just hadn't been brought to soup. And only by hearing them were you really able to attach yourself and grasp onto them and keep going. And one of the most important things is, how do they measure their success? This is an important question for anything and everything. How do you measure? If you're doing anything and you're expecting to improve and you're not measuring, you'll never be able to improve. You might get better, but that's not improvement. That's repetition and getting better. When you consistently measure what you're doing, your mind can see it. You can manipulate it. And most importantly, you can be real unsatisfied with your results. And that unsatisfaction will drive more self-improvement and more pushing towards your success than you could ever imagine. So that's measuring it. Now really consider how. You can't feel how you're doing. You really need to write it down and look at it. It's got to be objective. It's got to be consistent. And it should be for them as well. Now, if any of your friends don't have these qualities, don't hold it against them. I personally try to invoke it in everyone I'm around. I think you can live a very happy life doing whatever you want and do these things. Life is growth. That's just what it is. Don't prevent it because of your circle. We're not trees. We didn't root ourselves to the ground. But when you talk to friends and family, you might think they did. Don't let that hold you back. Don't have ill will against them. So many things move on. You've never broken up with a boyfriend or girlfriend? Life moved on. You were still good. You learned from it. You grew from it. I feel the same way about my friends. I might even feel stronger about my friends. They truly influence me on many ways. And don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate that at all. Go check out this article. I'd love it if you left a comment about how you feel about your friends and how well they line up. I'd love it to hear a story about when you left a friend because it was no longer benefiting you. I'm still trying to figure out how to tell my story of giving up my friends. Just can't seem to do it without tearing up a little bit. It wasn't easy. They were a decade old, and I was sick of not growing, and it wasn't their fault. But I wasn't growing when I was spending time with them, and I was spending more time with them than I was with myself. And that netted not enough growth. It's a one-way path. Time's going to go forward. I couldn't let that prevent me. I still truly love them, and I wish we didn't end on a sour note. However, due to my personality and the sheer level of irritating I can be, it does happen. That's fine. My love is unconditional towards them, and I only wish them well. What I wish most is that they had the same ambitions and drive for self-improvement, because it would be amazing if they could be in my life. Unfortunately, I can't maintain the self-control and self-discipline to maintain the self-promises that I make for myself while hanging out with people who are just not congruent with those same goals. It just never ends up working out very well. So, thank you guys for joining me. I'm really grateful that you're here, and I'm excited to keep going. I hope you are as well. Grow yourself. Let anyone who you want to help grow know about this channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm really trying to make personal development easy. I want you to feel good about yourself because you're reaching your true potential, even if you're really not satisfied with where you really are. I've never been satisfied. I don't know if I ever will be, but I know I've found my purpose, and it's got a lot to do with making other people get to their potential. So, thank you. And remember, keep moving forward. The sun will rise, and everything bad will pass. I promise you. So, thank you so much for joining me, and let's go.